Bonjour à toutes et à tous, chers participants et panélistes. Good morning, dear participants and panelists. Welcome to our webinar as part of Business in Tandem, an initiative by the City of Montreal in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce of Metropolitan Montreal, designed to expand connections with cities worldwide. Today, we'll explore business opportunities in the life science sector between Philadelphia and Montreal, focusing on gene and cell therapies and RNA technologies. My name is Reina Obregon. I am Project Manager, International Market Development at the Chamber of Commerce of Metropolitan Montreal, and I am delighted to host today's session. I would like to take a moment to thank the partners who made this event possible. First, the City of Montreal. Thanks also to the Chamber of Commerce for Greater Philadelphia, to our experts organizations and panelists sharing their insights today, and a special thank you to Canada Economic Development for Quebec Regions for its ongoing support in our international activities. A few quick notes before we begin. If you have questions, please submit them via the chat or raise your hand to ask them during the question period. Remember to specify who your question is for. We invite you to fill out our ongoing poll, and this session will be recorded and made available on the Chamber's website in 2 weeks. After the webinar, stay with us for the 30-minute networking session to connect with your fellow participants. I want to highlight an exciting opportunity for you. The Chamber is organizing a trade mission to Philadelphia in the life science sector from March 18th to the 20th. If today's discussion inspires you to take the next step, keep an eye on your newsletter or contact me directly. Without further ado, let's begin. And now I would like to invite for the welcoming remarks, Valérie Poulin, Director of Economic Intelligence and International Outreach from the City of Montreal. Valérie, the floor is
Bonjour, Rena,
yours.
merci beaucoup. Bonjour tout le monde. Hi, everyone. I'm very pleased to be with you this morning at this Philadelphia Montreal event. As Rena said, is a joint initiative of the City of Montreal and Chamber of Commerce of Montreal Metropolitan. My name is Valérie Poulin, Director of Economic Intelligence and International Outreach at the City of Montreal. This edition of Business in Tandem will focus on life science, as you know, a key sector for our two cities. We have brought together key players in this sector who will introduce you to their respective ecosystem and present business and collaboration opportunities for both cities. Which you may don't know is that the life science is of a strategic importance for Greater Montreal. It is employing more than 50,000 experts, and our multiple university bring thousands of additional talents to this sector every year. So we're so proud. With this activity, Montreal and Philadelphia demonstrate a high interest in boosting their international outreach in key industries for our economies. Sorry. We're ready and eager to continue exploring the business and partnership opportunities and we can create between Philadelphia and Montreal today and in other events for the rest of the years and the years following. I'd like to thank the panelists and experts who made this possible, this organization of this activity, who will present some interesting content. And obviously, I also want to thank the colleagues from the Chamber of Commerce of Greater Philadelphia and from the City of Philadelphia for their contribution to the success of this event. To conclude, I wish you all a very good event and very productive event. Merci à tous et bonne journée, bonne continuation.
Thank you, Valérie, for your kind words. Now I would like to give the floor to Pierre-Olivier Luguez, Senior Director, International Business and Global Strategy, Department of Commerce at the City of Philadelphia.
Thank you, Reina. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour à tous. Welcome to Philadelphia. Bienvenue à Philadelphie. Indeed, my name is Pierre-Olivier Luget. I'm the Senior Director for International Business and Global Strategy here at the Department of Commerce of the city, basically our economic development agency, and I'm in charge of our international economic development efforts, as well as at large our international affairs for the city. It's really a pleasure to be here with you all. And we're really grateful to everyone who's made this program possible. Obviously, the Chambre de commerce de Montréal métropolitain, sorry, as well as our own Chamber of Commerce and all the partners on all panels. I echo what Valérie said in that respect. I'll say that like I've had the pleasure to travel to Montreal several times in my role, both before the pandemic and since, and to work with many great partners between our two ecosystems. Our two cities and regions really have a lot in common and to share. Amazing quality of life, being approachable, being affordable, and while being at the top largest economies of our in our respective countries, so great gateways. With lots of creative minds that really fuel innovations, both from like arts and quality of life, but really tech and healthcare breakthroughs. And that's largely due to both our cities really having world-class institutions that fuel our economies. So you'll hear more about our ecosystems and how they work through the panels. Seriously, for us, it's come to Philly, as we call it colloquially and lovingly call it, just to experience the vibes. We're very oddly similar to Montreal, hardworking, industrious, ingenious, approachable, and very driven by human contact and relations in both how we live and how we work. So I'm really eager to hear both panels, exploring our ecosystems and exchanging further. So let's get to it.
Thank you so much, Pierre-Olivier, for your kind words. And now let's proceed with Frank Verreau, CEO of Montreal in Vivo, to present the cluster and share key highlights of the ecosystem. He will also moderate the first panel exploring the life sciences industry in Montreal and Philadelphia, with a focus on gene and cell therapy as well as RNA. Frank, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Reina. Thank you all, and and good morning, everybody. So my name is Frank Verreau. I'm the CEO of Montreal in Vivo, which is the life sciences and health technologies cluster of the Greater Montreal area. And a few weeks back, when Benoît Turgeon from the city of Montreal and Reina approached me and talked to me about this idea of organizing this kind of event, I said, yeah, what a great idea. I think it's fantastic because I do believe that Montreal and Philadelphia have lots in common, actually. And you know, to illustrate that, Montreal in Vivo actually has a link with the life sciences PA because we signed an MOU a few years ago. You can see it here, but I do have a beautiful picture of highlighting the skylines of Philadelphia in my office. So it's there are links between our two cities. I'm totally sure of that. So just a few words maybe to start the event. A few words on the ecosystem here in Montreal and in Quebec for our friends who don't necessarily know very well our ecosystem. So just so you know that the life sciences sector is made of over 750 companies in Quebec. With strong growth in the health tech sector, subsector, I should say, which is driven by artificial intelligence companies, of course. The number of companies actually grew in the past 4 years, up 13%. So that's quite nice. And when we look at the number of people working in that industry, that's over 40,000 people in the industry. And that's again a growth of 20% over the past 4 years. And to those 40,000 people, you have to add the 11,000 people working in the public research sector. So that's quite a significant ecosystem. And you also have to keep in mind, those were the number for the province of Quebec. And you have to keep in mind that the greater Montreal area, I should say, represent roughly between 75 and 80% of those numbers. So that's an industry that is very, very much concentrated in the metropolitan area. Over the past few years in Quebec and in Montreal, we decided to put a strong focus on different subsectors and different type of activities. And one of them is the RNA sector. And more specifically, this year, actually, we announced a very strong initiative in the field of therapeutic RNA. And we are very blessed because we have the first manufacturing facility from Moderna outside of the US that is it's not operational yet, but it will be in a few weeks, a couple of months, I think. But it will be operational up and running in Q1 2025, if everything goes well. So manufacturing vaccine, of course, and potentially other types of therapeutics products based on RNA. And the large initiative I was referring to around RNA is called therapeutic RNA is called ARENA, but I won't go in more details because I think Diane has some more specifics about this. But Montreal and Quebec is not just about RNA. We have other strengths. I'm thinking in terms of oncology, cell and gene therapies, digital health, of course, AI, application of AI for health purposes, etc., etc. So we can do pretty much everything in terms of the therapeutic areas and in terms of the stage of development of a product in the life sciences sector. We can do pretty much all the steps here in Montreal. Last thing I want to say is to mention the fact that we have a strong support from our governments for the life sciences sector. I think it's important to note that there is a provincial life sciences strategy that's been here for, 7-8 years now. So it's really a way of our government, provincial government, of showing that, yeah, life sciences is very important for the province and for Montreal. And also at the federal level, there is a biomanufacturing and life sciences strategy that is supporting our ecosystem. So I think this is important to know that. So in that context, Montreal in Vivo was created 17 years ago now to support the ecosystem and help make it grow through different type of projects that we do. So we are kind of a facilitator in the ecosystem. And as such, I'm very, very happy to be here and to moderate this great panel with fantastic panelists. So I'm going to introduce them to you. First one is Diane Gosselin. She's the president and CEO of the Quebec Consortium for Drug Discovery, called the CQDM. We also have Benoit Larose, who's the CEO of Bio-Quebec. We have Sam Woods-Thomas, Assistant VP Membership for the Life Sciences Pennsylvania organization. Hello. And James Medaglio, the Director of Business Attraction and Expansion at the Chamber of Commerce for Greater Philadelphia. And Pierre-Olivier Luguez, which already talked earlier from the city of Philadelphia. So let's start with some questions. I'm going to start with you, Benoit, from Bio-Quebec. Can you just provide us with an overview of the industry of the Montreal life sciences sector? So in a few words, if you could describe how that network of partners operate and what kind of strategies facilitate transition from partnership to patient impact. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first, thank you very much, Frank, for the introduction. Thank you very much for La Chambre de Commerce de Montréal et la Ville de Montréal for having organized this. Thank you for our partners in Philadelphia. We definitely need to, build on more, relationship that we should be doing in the life sciences industry. So maybe I can start with a few words about Bio-Quebec so everyone understands where we fit in that universe. So Bio-Quebec is a trade association for life sciences in the province. We're not for profit, private. We've been around for 35 years. We currently have 250 plus members, mostly in the biotech and the biopharma sector, ranging from discovery to commercialization. Basically, 80% of our membership, roughly, are SMEs, so companies from Quebec, but we do have big pharma on board as well and international players. And 85% of our members are companies, and we do have a number of support organizations on the roster as well. Roughly 80% of our members are in the Greater Montreal area, but we do represent the province-wide industry. Basically, the way our membership is structured is very similar, obviously, to what how the industry in Quebec is structured. So, about two-thirds of our members are either product companies or companies in the biotech services sector. So, CROs and CDMOs and other sort of biotech service providers. So we have a lot of business between members. So as a trade association, we are definitely doing a lot to improve the relationship, the commercial relationship between our members, but also with outside of Quebec. So Bio-Quebec is much engaged with other trade associations in North America. We have a number of them in an MOU relationship, and we are obviously very open to discuss with our vis-a-vis at Pennsylvania Life Science if we can eventually do same kind of arrangement, because we organize trade missions and we support trade missions that are organized by other economic development organizations as well. Most of our members, if not all our members, have international interests. Either they're looking for funding, they're looking for partners, or for clients. So it is very important for us to be active at that level. Even though our primary mission at Bio-Quebec is really advocacy, we are doing a lot of work to improve the business environment in Quebec, make sure that it makes sense for our industry to build companies here. So as I was saying, most of our members are either product companies or biotech services companies. One thing we can say about the way our members work generally is a lot of collaboration happens between companies. So we have a bit of overlap between capabilities of our companies, but we actually have much more complementarity than overlap. So it means that for a company that is looking for services in our ecosystem, the relationship is very cost effective because we have a lot of referrals between our service providers, between each other. And because we are so strong in preclinical research expertise and also in the clinical research in Quebec, there a lot of things can happen in our ecosystem in a very effective way. So our expertise, as Frank explained, is very well evolves in the more advanced therapies, cell and gene therapies, obviously, biomanufacturing, RNA, which Zian will talk more about. But we do have a long history in small molecule drug development, keeping in mind that Montreal was the birthplace of the pharma industry in Canada. So we retain a lot of expertise over time. And that explains why we have such a big presence in the drug development market globally. Quebec, as I said, is very strong in preclinical drug development. We have a lot of capabilities here, and we are definitely batting above our average in terms of preclinical drug development activities globally. Our ecosystem is not too small, so we have a lot of expertise and a lot of quality work is done here, but it's not too big either. So it's very easy to navigate between within our ecosystem. So we have a lot of everybody knows each other, so it's very easy to find support when needed, and we can get things done in a very cost-effective way in Canada and in Quebec in particular. So we are very, I would say, an ecosystem which gives a lot of value for money with our partners. So basically, that's how I would describe the way our ecosystem works. So we do have a lot of cross-border collaborations already, and so we're used to do that. We are very keen on increasing these relationship, and that's how I would describe the way our industry works. Frank.
Thank you, Benoit. Thank you so much. Over to you, Diane. Maybe just a few words on CQDM. And Benoit mentioned, of course, some key strength of the ecosystem. Maybe you can expand on that and tell us what are the areas of excellence that you see for Quebec and Montreal.
Well, thank you, Frank, and very happy to be here this morning. So my name is Diane Gosselin. I'm the CEO of CQDM. So for those who don't know CQDM, we are a non-for-profit organization in the biopharma sector. Our mission is to stimulate and to support industrial translational research. What we are trying basically to do is to help companies to innovate. So we're led by the private sector. We were created by global pharma companies. We have 10 global pharma companies, members of CQDM, and hundreds of SMEs being members of CQDM as well. So what we're really trying to do is to foster public-private partnership in fostering innovation. So that being said, few strengths in Quebec. Frank and Benoit have mentioned already that we have a very long history in drug discovery space, and this is really due to the very strong presence of the pharma industry in Montreal, especially in Montreal. We also have a very strong world-class academic research infrastructure with major universities like McGill and University of Montreal, especially. I think, Benoit, you mentioned a strong innovation ecosystem. It's so true. Very strong support from the Quebec government. And, maybe I'm a bias here, but I would say that it's probably the most significant support if you look across Canada, strong support from provincial government if you look across Canada. We have several organizations that are supporting innovation, CQDM, Génome Québec, and many others like CELIS, MedTech, Investissement Québec, Oncopole. But we have a culture of collaboration. In French, we say that we are tissé serré. I don't know how to translate that, but I would say probably that we have. Yeah. We have strong interconnections and we work together, that's for sure. And that's what Benoit, you were mentioning, you were referring to as well. Areas of excellence, I would say certainly number one, neuroscience, with the presence of the Neuro Brain Canada. Oncology as well with University of Montreal, ERIC, Oncopole. I'm not mentioning them all, but a few that comes to my mind. Cardiology and metabolic disorder with Montreal Heart Institute and IRCM. And I think rare diseases are also important with a specific strategy on rare diseases. AI, I think you both mentioned AI, very strong sector in Quebec with the Mila Institute, but this is being applied to the drug discovery space, and this is very important in the drug discovery space. Quantum as well is developing and emerging very strongly in Quebec. So our history in drug development in Montreal and in Quebec has evolved over time. And it generated a lot of entrepreneurial and scientific expertise. Initially in the small molecule, but now evolving in biologics and advanced therapies, gene therapy, cell therapy with C3I and Exceltera mainly, but also RNA therapy. And yes, it's true, Frank, I'd like to spend a minute or two on the RNA therapy space because it's really emerging and very exciting in Quebec. So the field became very important with Moderna establishing in Laval a few years ago, and also with the $350 million initiative launched by the McGill University. It's called D2R, and it's really in the field of RNA. So this combined with our strong history in drug discovery it became clear that there's a momentum in RNA in Quebec. And it became clear that also we had a very strong support from the Quebec government in that way. So CQDM was mandated by the Quebec government to lead a strategic initiative that will raise the bar even higher. So not just only create a momentum, but also create a real hub in therapeutic RNA. So we are working in collaboration. Again, we are very much serré. I would say around 25 organizations are working together in Quebec. My colleague Frank from Montréal in Vivo and Benoit from Bio-Québec are involved into this. So together we will stimulate innovation, entrepreneurship. We will support the development of outstanding technologies in the field of RNA from very early stage to Series A. We are going to create startup companies in the sector, help grow the existing companies, and we also are going to create a suite of services in manufacturing and specialized training in biomanufacturing as well. So I think it represents a very interesting opportunity, hopefully, for our friends from Philadelphia to partner with Montreal-based biotech companies, CROs, and very strong academic researchers. So we will organize a series of partnering events, and Frank is leading this, so I can talk about it. But we will be more than welcome to invite our friend from
Sure.
Philadelphia.
Sure.
And I think this is going to be a nice opportunity to identify synergy between the two cities. Lastly,
Thank
I
you.
want to say that we have created branding, and you mentioned that, Frank. It's called Arena, the Quebec RNA Hub. And so if you want to know more about the partnering opportunities, you can visit our website or follow us on LinkedIn. I will put the link in the chat. So I'll stop here, but I would be more than happy to take some questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diane. I think it's a good segue now to turn over to our friend from Philadelphia. And basically, I'd like to ask the same question. I'll start with you, Sam. If you could give us, an overview of the industrial outlook in Philadelphia life sciences sector, so we have a better understanding of what is the state of the industry there.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for having me. It's really great to be here on a panel with so many excellent folks, including some former colleagues at the City of Philadelphia. I am Sam Woods Thomas. I'm the Assistant Vice President of Life Sciences Pennsylvania. We are the registered trade association for life sciences in the Commonwealth of PA. As many of you know, that's a big state. A huge focus of our work is in, of course, southeastern Pennsylvania, the Philadelphia region. We have 933 member companies across the Commonwealth. 60% of those companies are the traditional science companies doing research, what we call our core members. 40% of those companies are the service providers, the folks who help the industry. We call those our associate members. A really big concentration of those members are in the Philadelphia region. You know, the status of life sciences in the Philadelphia region is extremely strong. I am actually looking at the report that was put out by the Philadelphia Department of Commerce. We are number 4 in the country in strength of life sciences. We spread the gamut, really. We are very strong, obviously, in cell and gene therapy and pharmaceuticals. Our membership includes a lot of startups, a lot of sort of CDMOs, CROs, companies doing really important work here in the life sciences sector. And the ingredients that make Philadelphia and the Philadelphia region so good are really sort of the strength of our science, the geography of where we are. You can get to 40% of the US population within a day's drive. If you speed and drive very fast, we can get that up to 60%, I think. Our real estate pipeline is extremely strong. There's 5.8 million square feet of life science real estate currently in the market, with 2.8 million in development. So there's lots and lots and lots of room to grow. funding, venture capital, NIH funding is really, really strong here in the Philadelphia region. Our institutions are extremely strong. We have 100 colleges and universities regionally pouring out thousands and thousands of very highly skilled life sciences employees. And just the talent that we have here. We are a very talent-rich ecosystem. Uh, and I think that is really a driver of companies wanting to come here to this region and stay here. It's truly, when you look at it, a lot of regions, a lot of cities, I think, try to recreate what happened naturally in Philadelphia. Our growth was really organic as a life sciences sector, and it's just been tremendous to be a part of it and to watch it grow. So I'm really excited to be in this conversation.
Thank you, Sam. So my next question is for you, James. I'm going to ask you the same question basically as I asked to Diane. What are the key areas of excellence in Philadelphia and in Pennsylvania generally, let's say, of course, for the life sciences sector? What would you say?
Sure. So I'm going to quickly share my screen with everybody, and I'll be pasting a report in the chat for everybody. But my name is James Medali. I'm the Director of Business Attraction and Expansion at the Chamber of Commerce for Greater Philadelphia. We're working on a shorter title, but we're not there yet. So me and my colleagues here, we help companies locate in the Greater Philadelphia region. It encompasses 11 counties in southeastern PA, southern New Jersey, and then northern Delaware. So really, building off what Sam was talking about with our life sciences ecosystem here, Greater Philadelphia is a well-recognized as a vibrant global hub for cell and gene therapy, with a depth and scale across all the key elements of the ecosystem. So we recently released an analysis of the progress of this subsector, and and as soon as I stop sharing my screen, I'll be posting that in that link in the chat. And analyzed the cell and gene therapy sector over the past 5 years or so. And it showed that of the estimated 500 cell and gene companies worldwide, Greater Philadelphia, so this 11 county region that you see there, is home to more than 60 or 10% of them, including 5 of the top 100 companies to watch. The region now has more than 7,000 people employed in institutions specifically doing cell and gene therapy. If you were to look at the entire life sciences employment base in our region, it would be between 70 and 80,000 employees every year. We're the second ranked region for NIH funding, or National Institute of Health funding, with regards to funds for cell and gene therapy grants. And over the past 7 to 10 years, there's been a major acceleration related to biotechnology overall and cell and gene therapy specifically. In the city of Philadelphia alone, there are more than 5,000 people who work in biotechnology, which represents an eight times increase from a decade ago. So you see that employment, funding, research in cell and gene therapy has really all been accelerating over the past 5 to 10 years. And there are more points of evidence from our region's ascendancy as a global hub. Total life sciences venture funding in our region doubled between 2018 and the current year. So that just tells you, we're not just seeing NIH funding, but we're seeing private dollars also go to work in this space. Lab space per square foot built and in development inside Philadelphia has increased by 150% since 2018 as well. So we're really building out the ecosystem in the lab space. And you can see by this heat map, it's not just in Philadelphia, but it's in the surrounding region. And it really speaks to what Sam was talking about, is the regional talent. We have folks like Merck, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, or Janssen Pharmaceuticals. They're all legacy employers that have a large employment base, historically employing 4,000 to 5,000 people each. And you really see that legacy talent in the entire region, in addition to the emerging cell and gene therapy talent. The success of cell and gene therapy has provided the basis for private and institutional investments in a complete ecosystem now that we did not exist just a few years ago. The scale and concentration and maturation of the infrastructure and resources we have now create an attractive value proposition for continued growth. And that's what me and Pierre and Sam are all trying to capitalize on, is really trying to capitalize on that growth and help companies locate in our region. At the chamber, we continue to see interest in our region grow. Over the past 3 years, since January 2022, roughly, the chamber has supported more than 430 business expansion projects in collaboration with the City of Philadelphia, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Choose New Jersey, Delaware Prosperity Partnership, and other regional stakeholders. And almost 48% of all those projects were related to life sciences and healthcare companies. So it really just tells you about the companies that are interested in locating in our region. Roughly half of them are life sciences and healthcare focused because they see that ecosystem that they want to be a part of. So this last slide, you see a lot of different rankings of the greater Philadelphia life sciences and cell and gene therapy space. So we've always been been an intellectual leader in biotechnology research, but really the activity and scale of our ecosystem shows the region is no longer only a biotech R&D hub. We now have a complete industry sector with all the components necessary to support the success of companies. So we invite everybody here who's interested in locating a physical office location in our region to please reach out to me and Pierre, and we'd be happy to support you in your mission to joining the ecosystem and making Greater Philadelphia a good place to do business. I want to thank everybody for their time today, and feel free to reach out through us via email or Facebook if you have a project. If you actually have a interest in locating an office in our region, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll act as that one-stop concierge service to connect you to government and the private sector. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, James. Very interesting, and I'm hearing really some big similarities in terms of the messages and in terms of the key strength between our two regions. So that's very interesting. Maybe Pierre-Olivier, if you talk to us, let's say if you have to choose one specific funding opportunities or program available in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, what would that be?
Oh, that's a hard question to answer. There's more than one. So yeah, no, there's really more than one program that you can share. Super quick slide. I mean, so as James has described, we've been a rising ecosystem in life sciences and especially cell and gene therapy. We've literally in the last 5 years, we really risen to become like the fifth largest startup ecosystem in the US in terms of number of deals. So there's a lot of momentum. It's hard to just pinpoint one program as a result of that. Lots of private funding that's coming to Philadelphia, especially in the sectors that interest us today, and especially towards early stage startups, which is really good for anyone who wants to expand in the US. And setting up here will give you access to a good network of folks that know how to navigate and the investor circles that exist here, and also in New York, that's just an hour away. A lot of it is really underpinned by the gigantic federal funding that's coming for fundamental R&D in our city and region. We're usually in the top third in the US in terms of National Institute of Health funding, NIH, you can see on that slide, with well over $1 billion. In the life sciences subsector in the cell and gene therapy is like nearing $400 million, and that's really fueling all the innovation that then become commercial ventures that attract venture capital. So there's not one single program. I'll say that like a lot of it relies on partnerships and collaborations across the city and the various institutions. You'll hear from CHOP. We are a unicorn generating ecosystem. One of them is Spark Therapeutics, which originally was a joint venture research between the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia and the University of Pennsylvania. And that has become now, that's been the first FDA-approved gene therapy, the first one commercialized. And that really just exemplifies one collaboration amongst many that can generate success stories. So James pointed out, part of it is like about navigating this ecosystem. Reach out to us. We know what's going on, or we try our very best. It's a fairly large ecosystem. There are several programs at either universities or our science center or other partners that help navigate the venture capital and funding ecosystem. I'm also thinking our science center as a capital readiness program, for instance. The state of Pennsylvania also has created Ben Franklin Technology Partner, and its biggest branch is here in Philadelphia. That is a nonprofit investor that has a very trusted word on the sector, and that serves as an economic development arm for our state and ourselves at the city, and that invests. And so activates the investor circles as well. So down the line, reach out to us, let us know what's your interest, and we'll help you navigate all of that. I would probably leave it at that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Pierre-Olivier. So we're getting near to the end of our time. So I'll ask a last question. Actually, going to ask the same question, Diane and Benoit. If you had to highlight one program or one initiative that could be of interest to our friends from Philadelphia, what would that be?
So maybe I can start, if you don't mind, Frank and
Yeah,
Benoit. So I'll stay in the RNA therapeutic area. So I can understand that from a US partner point of view, it might be difficult to find its way around, all those programs that have been created in Montreal and Quebec. I want to highlight that the Quebec government has created a lot of different programs, and you may have a hard time really to find the way. So what we have done for RNA, we said, okay, I mentioned earlier that we work in strong interconnection. So what we did is to start collaborating all the different groups who are providing funds to, from early stage to Series A development. And we basically are saying, well, if you have a technology that you want to be funded, or if you want to see, where is the innovation, you could talk to us and we will take care of finding the right technology and making sure that we support this technology at every stages, from very early stage to Series A. So if you have an interest in understanding, the expertise and where the outstanding technologies are in Quebec, you should, call me and I will tell you more about this program. What we want to do also is to say, okay, when we have those very outstanding technologies, we are going to create a collaboration with VC groups, and it's not VC groups only in Quebec. It's going to be everywhere, certainly in the US and Europe, so that they will have the opportunity to see these technologies and support those technologies as well. So I think there's a great way to create a one-stop shop to identify and search for RNA technologies in Québec.
thank you, Diane. Benoit, avais-tu quelque chose à ajouter? Sinon, oh, sorry, I switched to French. My bad. So, Benoit, did you have something to add, or maybe we can also take questions from the audience? Do we? Okay, go ahead, Benoit, and I'll check for the questions.
Maybe just to complete what Diane said, I mean, there's a lot of options. If a project is well structured, tax credits can be also very interesting and very effective. But generally speaking, foreign exchange rate is certainly a good program if you want to look at it this way. So you can get a lot of value for your money in Canada.
Okay. So I have one. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. I'm gonna echo, like, again, similarities between our two ecosystem. We're also like much more cost competitive and cost approachable on the Northeast than any of the other, like Boston, DC, or New York, and with a smattering of tax incentives and a few other things that we can help company with. There's so much between our two regions. I love it.
Exactly. I have a question from the audience, which is a little bit technical, but when we talk a lot about RNA therapies, cell and gene therapies in both our ecosystems, and we talked also about AI. So how is AI being leveraged to drive innovation in gene and cell and RNA therapies? So I don't know if someone wants to answer that question, that link between AI and RNA therapeutics and cell and gene therapies.
I'm actually typing that question into ChatGPT right now. I'll have an answer for you in about 5 seconds.
A good one.
But maybe I can try to answer. Um, I think that the best way to answer this is to provide examples. So again, on RNA, especially on RNA, when you want to improve, optimize RNA design, AI is extremely, extremely interesting. So drug discovery, if you want to develop a platform that would predict, what will happen with this particular drug, whether or not it's going to be, this is going to be um, reacting in the clinic, for example, how this is going to be efficient or toxic. So there are many different ways to use AI, and we could provide a list of things. So what GPT is saying, Sam?
Oh, I'm getting an error message actually. Um, I think this is something that we are looking at in our membership as well. Really, actually sparked by another city in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, who is a real strong ecosystem when it comes to AI, robotics, data connected devices. One of the I think many benefits of a city like Philadelphia and a region like Philadelphia is not only is our cell and gene therapy sector very strong, our tech sector is extremely strong. And more, I think the Venn diagram that connects those two industries is the middle part is getting bigger. There's a huge opportunity, I think, for the tech companies coming out of places like Penn, Drexel, Temple, and all these other great institutions to partner with our life sciences sector. And it's really an uncharted territory for us as a trade association looking at this, trying to understand how we leverage this. How do we serve these specific companies? Because their needs are going to be, I think, starkly different from a cell and gene therapy or a pharmaceutical company. So we actually had a conversation about this just yesterday, and it's really exciting. So while I don't have any of the answers, we're looking to figure out kind of how we can best serve those companies and how we can really capitalize and emphasize this exciting sort of development in life sciences.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Another question from the audience. How's the commercial office market for renting and commercial space in Philadelphia these days?
Open for business.
Absolutely open for business. Yeah, it is faring well. We all know that COVID has had a significant impact on the commercial real estate market in the US and across all metro areas. We assess that office occupancy rate in the city is about 80% recovery type of situation. So obviously there are some distressed assets, but traffic class is doing well. And we have a good history also at being capable of converting real estate to other uses. So we've seen some conversions towards residential, which has been in existence for a long time here in Philly, as well as into life sciences.
Okay.
So actually, there are several life science clusters in the center of town that are conversions of older buildings. And then the submarket for life sciences is, I'll qualify it as fairly hot.
Okay.
The cluster around Penn is the third hottest, I think, in the US currently, submarket. I think I've seen that. Don't quote me, I'll double check, but it's hot.
And how
Open
about
for
the lab space in Philadelphia? Is there a shortage? Is that easy to find lab space for companies?
If I can get on my lab space soapbox for just a second, I'm harking back to my days when I was Pierre's colleague at the Philadelphia Commerce Department. Um, there is no shortage there's a lot of great lab space in Philadelphia, and the region. And one of the reasons why we've been so successful here is that you can open up a life sciences company, operate a lab anywhere in the city and be successful, or the region. On the southern end of the city, there's the Navy Yard where you have large sort of Adaptimmune and Iovance Therapeutics are doing great business there. In University City of the startups, sort of buoyed by some incubation spaces, really buoyed by Spark Therapeutics, which is way more than a startup. In 2018, we were 99% occupied across of all our commercial lab space. I think that number is way down. There's a lot of availability in laboratory space.
Okay.
In fact, I think Philly is one of the only places you can actually start a life sciences company with 2 people at a bench and grow to about 3,000 people, all within a 2-mile radius. So the real estate scene in Philadelphia is excellent, and we encourage anyone to come here and start a business.
Very good to know. Thank you. I see we had other questions, but that's all the time we had for this panel. So thank you so much for taking the time this morning to join us for this conversation. And now I guess I leave it to you, Reina.
Thank you so much, Frank, for moderating this amazing panel of experts. And thank you to all our panelists, Benoit, Diane, Sam, James, and Pierre-Olivier, for being present today and sharing this relevant information with all our participants this morning. If you have some other questions, I'm gonna share the contact details of all panelists later. So just keep all your questions and send it to me. So now we're gonna continue, and I will invite our second group to share an overview of business opportunities between Montreal and Philadelphia through their company's testimonials. So this session will provide insights from their experiences, followed by a 10-minute question period. Before we dive in, let me introduce our speakers. From Montreal, Alina Venereo, CEO and founder of Vivector Bio. We have from Montreal too, David White, CEO and co-founder of Modularity Bio. From Philadelphia, we have David Betton, principal consultant from JDB Pharma Consulting. And we have from Philadelphia too, Amy Waldman, medical director of the Leukodystrophy Center, a pediatric neurologist. Oh my God, neurologist, children at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. So welcome to all of you. Before we start with the questions, I will let you to introduce yourself and briefly your companies. So you can start, Alina.
Thank you, Reina. It's a pleasure to be here and nice to meet you all. This is a great initiative and it's very valuable for our companies that are starting to make it in the field. So I have a small presentation. I will share my screen. So I am Alina. I am the founder and CEO of Vivector Bio. We are a company offering services for the production of viral vectors, cell and gene therapy viral vectors. At this moment, we are R&D grade, but one of the things that we are really excited about in our company is that we are also developing innovative technologies to improve the manufacturing of cell and gene therapy. We all know the manufacturing right now is inefficient and is highly costly, and for that we are working really hard to make it to improve it. Right now we have a manufacturing process. Usually we work at a small scale, 3 to 10 liters. And I think what is unique about our company is that we execute these manufacturing processes fully scalable. So we don't use ultracentrifugation or things like that. We always use chromatography steps. Let's say for AAV, we do affinity chromatography and then an ion exchange, just as for separation of empty and full particles, just as you do it when you scale up to larger volumes. And I think this is something that our customers like about us. And these are kind of the products that we work with. We produce AAV, lentivirus, and also viral-based vaccines like adenovirus and other type of viruses like Newcastle disease or influenza. So here is where I see we are open to collaboration opportunities, and this is kind of the innovation that we are developing in our company. So in order to reduce the cost of manufacturing, what we are doing, among other things, but mainly this, is that currently the transfection for AAV, let's say it's a triple transfection, we have developed a single plasmid with reduced the cost like 3 times just in this step. And also it's an optimized sequence, and we are able to increase the yields 5 times to what currently is achieved with triple transfection. At the same time, we are leveraging genomics and transcriptomics to develop a high producer cell line 293 cells for the production of AAV specifically. So here we are open to collaboration and looking for opportunities to build these technologies together with companies with the same mission than us. So again, if you are interested just as an investment or for collaboration opportunities for the science, just feel free to reach out. We are open to talk to you and let you know more about these technologies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alina. Now I give the floor to David Cudmore-White.
Thank you, Reina. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here this morning. I'm David White, the CEO and co-founder of Modularity. We are a cell and gene therapy startup, and we're developing synthetic immune receptors using the latest in the AI protein design and synthetic biology. We're working to treat cancer and get into regenerative medicine. So you're most likely aware, because you're from Philadelphia, that CAR T therapies created a small revolution in the treatment of liquid tumors, but we've yet to see the same breakthroughs in solid tumors. This partly due to the poor persistence of CAR T cells, which comes in part by the impaired signaling potential of the chimeric antigen receptor. So as structural biologists, we recognize that proper immune signaling comes from the immune receptor and its peculiar structure. So we've put together in an endeavor to build a synthetic immune receptor. We've created the modular actuation complex, or MARC, to restore the full potential of immune cells and their persistence. And so this is a technology that we're deploying across different immune cell types: NK cells, macrophage, producing allogeneically our cells through iPSCs or stem cells, or delivering them in vivo as an mRNA LNP therapy. So I'm happy to talk about our development. Thank you again for having us here, Reina. It's good to see some of the folks in Philadelphia again.
Thank you so much, David, for this sharing. Now I'm going to move on to the Philadelphia team. So let's start it with David Vettel. David?
Yes. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. And hello, David. I think, as we mentioned before, we've been working in the past together. I think this. I wanted to
continue. Sorry.
Okay. I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to be present here. This is a very apropos meeting, given the overlap in and the commonality between the two towns of Montreal and Philadelphia. And I just wanted to highlight how the two towns are indeed very complementary, by sharing some of the experience that I had in the past working and bridging the two communities. I was educated in France, hence the cap and the accent. I had my PhD in physiology at McGill University. That was the first contact with Quebec, with Montreal. And after that, I developed a career in drug development. And throughout the career, I've been able to appreciate the quality of both Montreal and Philadelphia in terms of drug discovery and drug development. First working at Merck. Everybody in Montreal remember Merck Frost. everybody in Philadelphia remember Mark Frost, who was the maker of Vioxx. So there is already a deep history. Respiratory, again, at GSK, where maybe people don't realize, but the Vertex compound that is used for cystic fibrosis was first developed as a collaboration between GSK and the lab of Dr. Hanrahan at McGill University, and then was later bought by Vertex. So there is here also an history. I was not involved with that, but I was watching it from far. After working in pharma, I went and looked into an opportunity coming out of University of Montreal and McGill, a compound that was commonly designed by them. And based on that, I started a startup here in Philadelphia, working on an invention developed in Quebec. And so I was able to experience and bridge the two cultures in terms of academic collaboration, in terms of intellectual property, in terms of investment, and in terms of startup development. And that went on for a while. Then I joined after that another startup, which again was focused this time on rare diseases. It was called Chondrial. It has been established in Philadelphia at the Science Center. And very early, we started collaborating with institutions in Quebec, the Heart Institute in Montreal, Alta Science, and a number of a rare disease patient advocacy group. And we were able there to bridge the needs of the company in Philadelphia by providing expertise and resources that were present in Quebec. I've been servicing them as a consultant, and I'm focusing on early stages startup, but also more advanced biotech that are transitioning into clinical, providing both strategic and logistic advice, still working very much between the two aspects in matter of target validation all the way up to IND filing. And so the experience that I have acquired working between the two towns allow me to really have a good appreciation of how complementary and indeed going into the same direction. We talked about real estate, the incubator system is in Montreal, and how it is in Philadelphia, how the different incentives, either from the Keystone Initiative or other type of investment in Philadelphia, is also very much matched by the Quebec tax, a credit in Montreal. And so the two ecosystems are really, I think, meant to be able to function together, providing complementarity at a number of levels. And I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, David. So I'm gonna just pass over to Amy in order to introduce her and the organization.
Hi, everyone. I am delighted to be here. I have been at CHOP. I'm a pediatric neurologist. I have been at CHOP for 22 years. Granted, some of that was my training. I started my training in 2002 at CHOP in Penn. And I wear a lot of different hats. And so I wanted to speak today. I'm a pediatric neurologist, which, as many of you know, has training in adult and pediatric neurology. We're very unique in that in neurology, we're very connected to our colleagues at the University of Pennsylvania. And so there is a lot of collaboration, which is a theme that I want to reiterate throughout our time today. So a lot of collaboration with our local other universities, and Drexel and Temple and Jefferson. A lot of the other big medical systems are here. Geisinger is another medical system in the US, in Pennsylvania, that we have a lot of collaboration with. So I just want to start by highlighting that among all of the life sciences in Philadelphia, I have attended the life sciences meeting. And so we have a very strong commitment in Philadelphia to the life sciences. I also, in addition to a neurologist, I'm also, as you see, the Associate Director of Clinical In Vivo Gene Therapy at CHOP. So the CIGT, the gene therapy group at CHOP, spans 7 different clinical divisions, right? Gene therapy is not unique to neurology. And in vivo gene therapy is not unique to neurology, although it is the space where most of the patients are being treated right now. And so we have 7 clinical divisions. So I am representing all of them here today in the clinical in vivo gene therapy program. I'm also representing, I do a lot of neuroinflammation and representing that group. I also do ex vivo gene therapy. And so I'm going to have a slide about that in just a second. And again, you see my affiliation with Penn, but we have co-op programs with Drexel. We have some collaborations with Temple and Geisinger and some of the other institutions. So the one last thing before I move to the next slide is that what sets CHOP apart and Philadelphia apart from many of the other institutions is trying to break down a lot of the silos so that we are learning from each other and we are advancing the field rather than working within neurology or within hematology and or within oncology. So a lot of collaboration, which is what has kept me at CHOP all this time. Okay, I just picked a few things to highlight because this is where there's some overlap between the presentations that you just heard. So we also have an internationally renowned viral vector core. I have some of the stats here. I've provided everyone with these QR codes in case people want more information, but do intend to send these slides that will have the QR codes and just some other resources at the end, so you don't necessarily have to Google everything. But we have a 13,000 square foot manufacturing facility. It's 9,000 square feet of CGMP clean rooms. It was established in 2007. It has won a state-of-the-art design from the International Society of Pharmaceutical Engineering, not one that I do regularly. And this has not only supplied research and clinical vectors for CHOP, but as you see here, 10 different countries around the world. I did not have the opportunity to check to see if Canada is one of them, but we have a lot of disorders that are represented and a state-of-the-art facility that if you were ever to travel to Philadelphia, we could see about, touring and maybe overlap with some of the viral vector cores that you have. We also have, of course, the state-of-the-art transplant program where CAR T was such a major development between Penn and CHOP. And I agree with everything that David said. This is a fantastic therapy, but does have its limitations. That being said, so I'm very fascinated myself in that MARC technology. But we do have a wonderful ex vivo gene therapy program that I do want to highlight. And I just want to mention, so there are 3 commercial ex vivo gene therapies that are FDA approved: Lenmeldy for metachromatic leukodystrophy, Skysona for cerebral adrenoleukodystrophy, and Zynteglo for beta thalassemia. We are a contracted site to deliver all 3 of these therapies. I'm not aware of what the state is in Canada for having a qualified treatment center with any of these therapies, but I just want to highlight, and I will talk a little bit more in the question, we have a wonderful, very long established relationship with a physician at McGill, which I'll talk about in the questions. And we are very interested in partnering in terms of these therapies, and I can talk about that in a few more minutes. I will also highlight our leadership in Silicon Valley with the Future of Cell and Gene Therapies educational symposium happening later this year if people are interested. So I'm going to stop there, and then when we get to the question and answer, I can bring up one of the most rewarding relationships between Montreal and CHOP so far for me, personally.
Thank you, Amy, for this presentation, and let's get started in the questions. Then, to kick things off, what advice would you offer to companies from Montreal or Philadelphia seeking to build successful partnerships in this field, based on your experience in Pennsylvania or USA or Quebec or Canada at large? So who would like to start with this? Maybe Alina?
Yes, sure. And so I would talk about our own experience in my company. So we have seen that seeking for these opportunities, one of the things that have worked better for us is the participation in conferences. And especially American Society of Cell and Gene Therapy is a big one. And I think all of us, we prioritize that one to participate. So it's been amazing. I just find that it's really good to participate in conferences, but it's even more important to get prepared and prepare in advance and set your goals and try to get the most out of it. and not only seek for what you want, but also provide value before and after the conference. And create that trust with the interaction with the potential partners, and find these complementary skills that you can bring to the table that the other partner don't have, and do all this assessment will make you more successful to kind of close those partnerships.
Thank you for your answer. Yeah, go ahead, David.
Yeah, I think as a matter of establishing or at least exploring whether there is a good fit between the need and the resources available between Philadelphia and Montreal, I think what I would suggest is actually taking a trip, arranging a meeting with the different people, either at Bio-Québec, Montreal International, or the CDQM, and as far as Montreal is concerned, or the Chamber of Commerce, Life Science PA in Philadelphia, and asking to actually have a focus tour and meeting arranged between the different resources and support that exists in both towns. I would not recommend doing that in January or February if the trip is going to Montreal, but if it's part of a ski trip, it can be interesting. Otherwise, having direct contact and really understanding what the two ecosystems have to offer could be very, very profitable for the companies.
Yeah, I just want to say, so my input is before having this initiative and being able to know all the resources that we have. So yes, I agree with you. These interactions will help a lot too.
And if I can just ask one thing, like being ready to incorporate in both countries, because then a lot of potential open when the company is incorporated in the US or the company is incorporated in Quebec. I think there will be a much more traction.
Thank you.
I will just
Yeah, go
add
ahead,
to that,
Amy.
if that's okay. I will just add that at first glance, there are a lot of competing interests, especially on this call, right? For example, I just presented some competition, not really the car versus the mark, but you understand the point, like the CAR-T. So, at first glance, a lot of times there's competition, and instead we should look for areas of collaboration and synergy. So, for example, our viral vector core and Alina, your company, they may be doing the same thing, maybe doing similar things, but where there might be synergy is maybe there's things that you can learn about how we designed our core, or maybe we can learn about your R&D products. And while ultimately you may be deploying those products throughout Canada, we might have some of the US market, but there still are opportunities to learn from each other. And so I think that good collaboration would really start with not looking at us as competitors, but where there could be synergy or learned lessons, right? This is no different than two clinicians studying the same disease. And maybe, can I just transition into the next question or one of the other questions? Is that okay? You want me to wait?
Yes, you can wait, but
Okay,
we want to move on. We want to move on.
Go ahead.
Maybe David White, do you want to add something?
Oh, I'm completely in agreement with Amy. This field of cell and gene therapy is so deep and so wide. We all have a certain expertise. And as I say, there's the cell, there's the vector, there's the gene. We're the gene company. Alina has the vector. There are plenty of great labs developing new types of cells. I think that we will get these breakthroughs when we work together, putting together the best of every part of the pipeline. And it's not just the asset itself, it is the production, it is the distribution. And so these are great meetings to have. But in the end, like David was saying, you need to get on the ground because trust is not built over Zoom, it's built over coffee. So we should definitely make some reservations to a restaurant in Philadelphia, but probably in May.
Thank you all for your sharing. So now let's move on for the second question. Reflecting on your journey, Looking back on your experiences, is there anything you would do differently to achieve better outcomes? What could be? I don't know who wants to start. Amy?
I can start. The next question is the one that I really wanted to hit on.
Okay.
I can start with this. I think I will just expand on what David just said. Somebody had one of my former division chiefs had said to me, if you want a seat at the table, you got to be at the table. And so I think what I have learned is the same idea that, many of us get busy, one more meeting, don't want to, add, and we have to start to prioritize. But I do think that one of the lessons that I've learned is that regular communication and regular touch points, does accelerate discovery.
Having also, if I may add something, a better understanding of the very tiny cultural differences. For example, the saying go that you don't get anything done between Thanksgiving and Christmas in the US, or that around the Saint Jean d'été in Canada or in Quebec, you have to be relaxed, and because people are taking their vacation. So that knowing what to expect and what are the differences in terms of business would be also very useful. And to answer your question, I learned that by having to control frustration, because sometimes it was not going as fast as we wanted it to go.
That's true. Alina, David, why do you want to add something to this?
My idea was similar to Amy, so it goes to communication, always transparency, honestly, this open communication between the partners, like always, the yes, 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 and always that we interact is always, positive and transparent. I think everybody appreciates that, and this is the way to build these strong partnerships.
For you, David?
Oh, I think most of it has been said. Yeah, of course, I agree. Communications, building the network, is a good idea. I think that you have to remember, like, as a company backed by investors, they tell you never to take one person's opinion too strongly. But that happens across different sectors, and even in science. And so even though we publish a lot, every paper, you could say, is one opinion. You have to take the whole field into consideration to make your decision to go through. And so I think that sourcing as many opinions, as many as these discussions as possible, is very important.
Thank you for these reflections, are very interesting. Let's move for the other question. So, goal setting in new markets. Have you achieved your goals in this market? For you would be Montreal, and for people from Montreal, Philadelphia. If not, what steps do you think are needed to reach them?
Well, I mean, we haven't cured cancer yet. But for working with Philadelphia, I mean, we are starting. We have we know some people in Philadelphia. We have some upcoming collaborations being set up. I think that I think it's a good idea to really, as I said, have these on the ground meetings to see what people are doing, sometimes physically. Because as we collaborate, sometimes things are lost in translation. Scientists have their own ways, and we need to check in on people, not just how they're doing, but how they are doing it.
Yeah, and I will add to that, we have also not cured a lot of the diseases for which there are gene therapies, right? Gene therapies are transformative, but not necessarily curative, and do come with a lot of adverse events. I will just comment, there was a question in the chat, or a comment in the chat, about hosting a cell and gene therapy meeting. We recently hosted what we called an educational symposium, and it was open broadly, but it was mostly patients, or I'm sorry, clinicians and administrators within the Philadelphia region, or within driving distance to Philadelphia. But it wasn't just a here's what you need to know about gene therapy. We went into the safety and toxicities across platforms, but also went into a whole session about the administration and really like the institutional commitments to this, all of the things that are needed to do it effectively. So it was beyond just the clinical side and was more on the operational side, if that would be of interest to people in the future.
Alina, David Betton, would you like to add something?
Yeah, if you know. So yeah, so when I see these questions, have you met your goals? I am the same than Amy and David. Like, I think we all will say no because there is always more to do, right? After, but it's what we do to get to what we want to know, and what we have done in the company is I feel, and it goes to communication and getting out there and getting known. So we have exploited social media, and I'm talking about LinkedIn, not only sharing the new events that you're going to participate, but also sharing valuable insights with the community and what we are able to do, and what do you think, things that that could be valuable. And then this also gives you credibility, and you build that trust and you get known. So it's not that you see your face for first time. It's you kind of build that thing, and it's the same through social media, publications, webinars. So building all of this kind of a network will help you to get those partnerships and getting on out there. Yeah.
I would have maybe like in a non-scientific perspective, the goals very often might be much more far-reaching than addressing scientific concern. Well, science might just be a way of, for example, providing value for investor and accommodating regulatory requirements, preparing for clinical testing, like finding the patients, knowing where to find the expert and the patient. So preparing for, or like trying to reach the goal, go much further than the science, I believe, and that can be also that's where the two town and the supportive organization can be leveraged.
Well, thank you. Great to hear all your insights. It's inspiring, and I'm convinced it provides ideas to all our participants today. Before ending this segment, would you like to add something? Go ahead,
I
Amy.
would. All right. So I would be remiss if I didn't highlight one of the most successful collaborations that we have had specifically with Montreal. So I want to introduce very briefly the Global Leukodystrophy Initiative, which was started by Adeline Vanderveer before actually her arrival in Philadelphia. So this collaboration goes back at least 12 years. I think it's probably even earlier than that. And it purposely does not have a institution or a specific name attached to it, although Adeline Vanderveer is a leukodystrophy, the world's most probably expert in all leukodystrophies she's now here at CHOP. But she started this global leukodystrophy initiative, GLIA. Most recently, it turned into the GLIA CTN, the Clinical Trials Network, which is an NIH-funded consortium. With that NIH funding comes some barriers in terms of collaborations outside the US, but Adeline has maintained those collaborations outside the US, including with your own Geneviève Bernard, who is a wonderful colleague. And just to highlight where things have been very collaborative and synergistic, we have not encroached at CHOP in the diseases that she is most interested in. She's a general leukodystrophy expert, and we do a lot of different leukodystrophy things here at CHOP. But she's most interested in some of the hypomyelinating disorders. So rather than compete, we work synergistically. And where possible, even if there's some funding differences or those types of things, try to funnel our patients with these diseases to her for her research studies, are working on developing. Here we're working at CHOP on developing treatments, which we hope then we would be able to collaborate with her at her site. But we are not replicating what she's doing. we are complementing it. And it is a beautiful relationship. She is a brilliant person. If I do come to Montreal, I will make sure that it's a day where that I can, meet up with her. And, she has now been represented at the United Leukodystrophy Foundation, where she is now the first chairwoman, first Canadian, and the youngest individual in the position of the chair of the Scientific Advisory Board. She's active in Europe, representing Canada. And like I said, she is a trusted member of GLIA and has been for a very long time. So this is where our collaboration and some of the concepts that we've been talking today have been advanced. And I'm going to share these slides. Oops, sorry. Share these slides, which will have, a little bit more information about these different programs that I highlighted today.
Thank you for this information, Amy. And when you're going to send it to me, I'm going to share it with all the participants. We'll still have 4 minutes for a short question period. If someone want to raise their hand and talk to ask a question directly, go ahead. It's the time. Don't be shy. If not, I have one question here. What cultural or business differences have you observed between Montreal and Philadelphia, and how they are influencing collaboration for you? I heard before from David, but I don't know, you, Alina, or David, or Amy, have you seen some cultural differences between both cities?
I don't know that I don't know that cultural differences have been an issue. And I will say here in Philadelphia, we are very grateful that Montreal is a bilingual city. We, in the US are a little bit, with the exception of David, are a little bit restricted to English for the most part. But I have not had cultural differences. I think if there are challenges that we faced or ideas where there's limitations, it might be just because of different resources and different health systems, right? In the US, in terms of the private versus public, and then the system in Canada is obviously much different. I have experienced more limitations per se in my neuroimmune work, in terms of we're able to give a lot more therapies. In Canada, for someone under 18, it's a little bit more restricted in terms of what medications could be used in the past. Now there are some approved medications. I haven't felt that as much in leukodystrophies, and I think it's remaining to be seen how, and I know this was listed in the chat, how payment for these gene therapies is going to be handled moving forward in patients that are eligible. And the other thing that I'm not aware of is newborn screening efforts in Canada, like we have in the US, which makes us able to identify some of these patients quite early. But they do run in families. So unfortunately, we still also recognize or identify patients through older siblings or family members that might be eligible for some of these gene therapies. So even in the absence of global newborn screening efforts for some of these disorders, there may still be patients identified at a very young age that would be eligible for treatment.
As a matter of fact, Amy, if I can just comment, I know from personal experience that the newborn screening program in Quebec is absolutely outstanding. My daughter was detected with a rare disease, and she was treated. She's okay, but thanks God. But she was treated within a week and a half. She had an hypothyroidism. She was treated within a week and a half, and that's I want to commend the Quebec health system for that. If I can ask one thing, like one of the difference that people should be aware of, when it comes in terms of transferring biological material, especially for bioanalytical purposes, there are some fine tuning that needs to be done. And sometimes it's important to address that way in advance to avoid having a compound or specimen not being delivered because of custom or regulatory concerns. So there are some and the same with regulatory in terms of developing an approach. There's some fine tuning that needs to be done, not something that cannot be overcome, but to be aware of it to avoid losing opportunities.
Thank you. I think, Alina, you would like to comment something before?
No, I just wanted to add to Amy and also for the screening of the newborns, rare diseases, because I had the experience. I am a young mother, so I went through that, and I know by personal experience that is a very extensive repertoire of diseases that are screened when you before giving birth. So in Quebec.
Well, thank you. David, would you like to?
Oh, if I quickly say, if I can, I mean, very nice for the Quebec system here. If I can commend the Philadelphia system compared to the Quebec one, it would be on the transfer of technology, two cities with great universities, great research potential. But I find Quebec compared to Philadelphia has some catching up to do in how to commercialize its technology and how it's spinning out its technology into startups that can grow and commercialize it.
Well, thank you. That's all the time we have. Thank you, Alina, both Davids, Amy, for sharing your insights and experience. I'm confident that our participants have gained valuable tools and ideas today. So now, as we approach the end of the webinar, a 30-minute networking session will follow in 3 breakout rooms. Participants will be randomly assigned a room but can freely move between rooms. Participants that have completed the form and consented to share contact information, we will send this next week. And additionally, today's presentations and panelists' contact details will be shared with all participants. A special thank you to all our panelists for their insightful contributions and to all our participants for joining and engaging in this webinar. We hope to see you at the networking session and wishing you all a good day. So that won't be long for the breakout